If you're doing Facebook ads and you cannot get ads approved for them, fuck it, don't do it. Friends who are coaches, and they'll get 10,000 people to sign up for their webinar. And of those 10,000, like half of them don't even watch the webinar. The whole idea of a Loom video is, I don't want to have to work hard for sales. I want my video to work hard for sales. Some rock, paper, scissors. My little girl just learned this game in Spanish and wanted to play with me last night, so we had a throwdown. She cheats too. She goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then she waits to see what you put out, and then cheats at the game. Man, children. Excited to see you guys for another awesome session of some agency Q&A. You guys are growing awesome businesses. I see a lot of you guys have 7-figure goals. A lot of you guys have reached 7 figures, are now working at the next stage of completely removing yourself, automating. Just good things happening in general. That's what I love about hanging out with you guys. The rest of the world sits around waiting for opportunities, and we're making it happen. Our man Cole is on the mic. Just a couple of quick announcements. Announcement number 1, I have not formalized any details, but a few of you guys have said you would be willing to come to Mexico and hang out at my house, so that is going to be a thing. I have no details yet. I'm going to have to let that sit in the crock pot a little bit, fill in the hopper, or put it in the hopper, fill in some details about what we'll do and all that kind of good stuff. But I will let you guys know about that. I'll also help you guys organize, where to stay and all that. Nicola, brother, what's up? Second thing is, we still probably got about 5 spots open this year for the mastermind. When they're full, they're full. One thing I want to point out that I think a lot of you guys should know, except Evans, is I'm not a big believer in linear training the way most people do. Like, I've seen people, they say, use this message, use this script, sell this service, and all those things. And what ends up happening is you build somebody else's business, and it works for a little while, but it always has a shelf life. I saw this Ty Lopez sold a social media course, and they sold like 60,000 copies of it or something like that. And they gave everybody the same outreach script message. And I'm sure that message worked in the beginning. But after, and they told everybody to sell to general contractors as well. So even today, the general contractors all get pitched using the exact same copy and script message, or copy and paste script. And they fucking ignore it. So a lot of times people come in and they're a little disappointed when they expect me to say, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. The best thing you can actually do in a business, in my opinion, is identify your biggest constraint of the moment, the thing that is taking up all your time and energy and resources, or making you miserable, pulling your hair out, and solve that problem once and for all. And that's more about what we do inside the Wolfpack. So if you're looking for like a step-by-step thing, I just wanted you guys to know it ain't that. So you probably want to stay away. But for those of you guys who are looking for, like, yeah, I don't care, I want to solve my problems and live a cool life, that's more our style. So I just wanted to clear that up, because some of you guys kind of like asked, like, hey, is it a step-by-step course? No, it is most definitely not. Having said that, let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Our man Hetty is here. Good to see you, motherfuckers. Jean-Michel, what a cool name. Is it just me, or ads in the weight loss niche a nightmare to deal with? I'm getting rejections here and there for stuff that literally gets approved all the time in other niches. I've had hundreds of accounts in various niches that I never had issues with. And whenever I work in weight loss, I'm bashing my head against the walls because of rejections. Is it just me, or is it the same thing for everyone? I think I'll just start to refuse those clients since it's such a hassle. That is certainly one solution. Just if it's too much of a pain in the ass, if you're doing Facebook ads and you cannot get ads approved for them, fuck it, don't do it. But I will say, one angle that has worked for us, and when I say us, I don't mean personally, this is actually Elvin's idea in the mastermind, but he just starts his ads with, we're looking for people who are looking to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever. And by starting it out, by making it about us and not about the reader, the approvals tend to be easier. If you say, are you looking to lose 10 pounds, you offend people. But if you say, we're looking for people, that little switch alone will probably save you a lot of fucking misery and headaches. And I know it neuters the message a little bit, but at least you can get around all the bullshit. But Facebook's definitely like just fucking pain in the ass for some niches, weight loss obviously being one of them. And of course, you know, both Facebook and Google have shitty customer support. You can't really get a human, and once the bot says you can't do it, there's no change in the bot's mind. So, you know, you got to work with what you got to work with. But I wish I had a better answer for you, but you try that headline and you'll probably be able to get around it. Juan says, why do you think so many people spend thousands of dollars on ads and then simply let their email list rot? Oh my God, Juan. I'll tell you, if you understand this, though, there's untold amounts of money that can be walked over and picked up. I say this all the time. I see this actually. I got friends here personally where people will walk over $100 bill to go pick up a nickel. And I don't mean that just in terms of clients and stuff, but like real life. Like I have a friend who she lives here in La Paz, and there are $10 million yachts going by every day, and she walks dogs for like $1.50 an hour here in Mexico. And I'm like, do you not see the $10 million yacht right there? Why not sell something to those people? But people do this all the time, and I'll tell you, where I see this, and I've mentioned this to a few other people, is in the coaching industry. So like, I have friends who are coaches, and they'll get 10,000 people to sign up for their webinar. And of those 10,000, like half of them don't even watch the webinar. So they'll get 5,000 people to watch their webinar. And of those 5,000, maybe 1,000 make it to the end. Of those 1,000, maybe 100, 120 will book calls with them. And so they'll get 100 calls booked. And then they'll close 25 of those calls, and they'll get 25 clients. And actually, if they get 100 calls booked, probably 20, 30 of them don't even show up to those calls. So they'll get 25 people signed from 10,000 people on their list. And when they want to go get 25 more clients, their mind immediately goes, I must go get 10,000 new people. And this is universally true in business. Business owners assume the only way to make more money is to get more new people. But if you understand that, when somebody says, I need more new people, you can almost always ignore that. I actually had a friend, I wrote about this in the book, but he's a serial entrepreneur. He bought a roofing business in Southern California. March 2020, world goes crazy, lockdowns, all those kind of things. Suddenly his business is cash flowing upside down. He's stressed out, trying to figure out how to make payroll, all those kind of things. He's like, I might go bankrupt in a business I just bought and paid a bunch of money out of pocket. What do you think I should do? And he said the magic phrase, which all business owners say, I need more new people. Do you think I should run Facebook ads, Google? What should I do? SEO, how do I get new people? And I said, well, I bet you got a list of people. And so I asked him if you had any past customers. He said yes. And I put the picture in the book for those of you guys who remember it. But he sent me back a picture of all the invoices they had done over like 17 years. And it was every single person ever who had ever given that a business their credit card. So we sent them an email. It was very, very simple. It just said, hey, it's your roofer. I'm sorry I haven't been in touch very much, but I really appreciate you guys and want to know if there's anything we can help with. Do you have any leaks, or do you know anybody who has any leaks? And he ended up booking like $100,000 or $200,000 worth of business from that simple email by just talking to the past clients. So if you understand this, easy money can be made from people who are looking for new resources and ignore the resources they already have. They already assume they have maximized what they have, and like 99 times out of 100, that assumption is fucking wrong. And because of it, and just as a thought exercise to illustrate how easy this is, imagine you ran a restaurant and you wanted to get people back to your restaurant. Well, how many different reasons could you do that? Right? You could say, hey, we got an extra shipment of tomatoes today, so we've been cooking tomato sauce all morning. We got the best pasta come in. We've been working on desserts. That's another reason, right? Hey, we got half-price appetizers. We got a band coming in tonight. We're doing a cooking class. Endless fucking reasons why you can bring people back. So the easy money is in recognizing that. And the longer I do this, the more I'm just doing revenue share deals with customer lists, because I don't like working very hard for money, and I don't think you guys should either. Back to back, Maria. Maria says, just a quick question, Frankie. Do you do a personalized Loom video for your clients for each and every prospect, or do you keep a pre-recorded Loom video and send it to your clients? What do you do? Firstly, this is a question I get a lot. And typically, if we're making a new Loom video, meaning an offer that's not proven, the first 5 or 10 times I'll personalize it, and I want to hear the feedback that I get from it. I want to see where the objections are and where the resistance about the idea is. But once I have that identified, it's just the same video, and this is a deeper understanding, because what I want you guys to understand is that what we really are after, and then most people have no idea that this is what we're really doing, is energy efficient money in our business, right? The whole idea of a Loom video is, I don't want to have to work hard for sales. I want my video to work hard for sales. So if I have to record a new video every time, I'm working too hard, right? So I want my video day in and day out to be crunching sales for me. In all aspects of the business, you want to have like energy efficient money earned. And so for that reason, and it's also better for the clients too, but we use the first 5 or 10 personalized, but after that, it's the same video over and over. She also says, I just finished the book. I have a question. Do you guys do an intro in the Loom video? If yes, when do you give it a start, middle, last? Is the intro necessary for a Loom while sending from a personal profile? Here's the deal, okay? So when I first developed this strategy, I had to do it in 5 minutes. And the reason I had to do it in 5 minutes is because Loom videos, what's up, Nikki Two Angels? The reason I limited it to 5 minutes is because I was only using the free version of Loom, and I don't like investing in tools unless I know I'm going to use them for a long time. So Loom's like $10. It's like nothing crazy. But I didn't want to pay for it because I wasn't sure I was going to use it. And so I had only 5 minutes, and I would, in the beginning, when I first made videos, I would introduce myself, and it would take 30 seconds, sometimes like 40 seconds of a 5-minute video, and I would have a really hard time finishing. And the thing about a 5-minute Loom video, when you're using the free version, as soon as you hit 5 minutes and 1 second, it's not like, hey, no big deal, just go a little longer. Like, boom, cuts you off, like immediately. And so I started testing them without the intro, and what I found is it actually makes no difference. In fact, in some ways, it actually improves the video, because the whole point of a Loom video is to be so fucking concise with your offer and your service that they can decide from like less than 5 minutes, want to buy it, not buy it. So it has all the details, price, how much, what you're going to get, what's included, all those kind of details, how it works. And essentially what we're doing, and I mentioned this on the Loom video workshop, but we're doing the 80-20 of a sales call. We're answering the questions they would normally ask in their mind. What's up, Zach? Normally there's a series of questions that people have that they unconsciously are asking in sales calls. And this just comes from the fact that I've done like 1,000 of these, maybe more. But at least 1,000 sales calls over the last, I don't know, like 6-7 years. And what I found is, if you know what they're going to ask, you can just preemptively answer that. And so that's what we're doing in a Loom video. So what I'm saying to you is, do not introduce yourself. In fact, the worst thing you can do is, the most important part to me of the actual video, I should say, is the end of what you offer and the beginning of how you hook them. And I've seen videos people send me, and they spend 40 seconds introducing themselves, and they all unconsciously use the same script. They go, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm from company XYZ, and the reason I'm making you this video today is because blah, 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 blah. And it takes too long to get to the point. It's better just to go, let me show you really quickly how we're going to get you motorcycle cases, and this is going to work for you if you're in this scenario. And if you don't know already, my name's Frankie, blah, blah, blah. Now, having said that, there is a scenario where introducing yourself can add power. And I call it when you're answering the unconscious question of, why should I listen to you? So you'll see me, like I typically do this on my newer YouTube videos. I'll be recording some today, actually, so you guys will see when those come out. But I first always give the hook, give them a reason to watch it, and then I'll say I'm unconsciously answering why you should listen to me. And I usually do that with like 3 bullet points. That's my go-to is, so in the case of the agency stuff, I say, hey, my name's Frankie Finn. I built 3 different agencies to 100 plus clients. I wrote the book on it, and I've helped thousands of people worldwide to do this. But I'm only answering that question just like why, because you're unconsciously asking why I should listen to you. But other than that, I've tested not giving the intro, and it still works. So you can include it. It depends on how concise your video is, because at 5 minutes and 1 second, if you're using the free version of Loom, it is going to cut you off. So if you can make it work in 5 minutes or less with an intro, include it. But I don't think it needs it. And I actually think the way most people do it, where they introduce themselves first, weakens it. Hook them first. Open the video and tell them, answer the big dying question is, why the fuck should I even be interested in? Like, don't even waste a second, and just so, like, here's the thing you want. Let me show you how we're going to get it. That's the most powerful way to do it. And if you do that, you'll make stronger, better videos. Nikki Two Angel says, I have a list of about 10 dentists I've been sending letters to offering a marketing service to get them more cosmetic patients. How many letters would you send them if they don't respond? Couple things about that, Nikki Two Angels. But firstly, before we talk about quantity of letters, this is a thing that I think people confuse in general, is thinking your service and your offer are the same thing. And Frankie Finn says, no! Right? Like a service is like a restaurant is a service. You go there to eat. They provide meals and drinks and a good time if you're looking for that. But an offer is like, we have all you can eat barbecue ribs and a beer and cornbread and baked beans and a salad and there's a live band and it's $16.99. That's an offer. And so assuming you're saying like, I can get you more cosmetic patients, that's actually not the offer. And I'll tell you the simplest, easiest offer you'll make, especially when like, because I know in your case, you're just starting out in this market, to get attention is one. I will get you one, right? Automatically, by the way, if you get them one, they're going to want more, right? So it automatically leads into selling your ongoing, but it's easier conceptually to say yes to one. It's also just, it's a promise you can actually deliver on. I don't think enough marketers understand that it's not just the business of making promises. Like I saw a guy the other day in my inbox who said, our booked appointment service can add $300,000 to $500,000 a month to your agency. And I thought, just imagine how sky high that promise is. Imagine he comes in and he makes me an extra $75,000 a month. Am I going to fire him because he promised me $500,000 a month? Right? So we want to create promises we can actually deliver on. And usually the easiest, most believable promise is one of something. So when you're first showing up and you haven't done it before, like, I think I can get you one. Now, having said that, the other thing is clean that up inside of the offer. But the other thing is you're going after, and nobody really talks about this, but in my opinion, this is just part of it, is when we go after certain niches like dentists or HVAC or personal injury lawyers, or just like some of these niches, general contractors, where they're pitched again and again and again and again. They're fucking jaded, so like the chances of closing them on one single mailing of 10 people is pretty low, unless you've like really identified like hyper targeted shoe buyers. It's a super personalized message. It's an irresistible offer. Like I could do it in 10 messages, but only because I've been doing this for 15 years. I would say 10 is not nearly enough, and one time is not nearly enough, because you're dealing with a market. Like I remember I had this conversation with lawyers, and I said, like, how often do you guys get pitched? And they said, 100 times a day. And I said, like, holy shit, like there's that many marketers? Oh, and they said, no, it's not just marketers. The insurance guys reach out to me. The investment guys reach out to me. The real estate guys. Like I just get, my phone is just blowing up all day long. And I said, and how do you deal with that? And I said, I mostly just ignore it. I don't have time to sift through it all. That's what you're dealing with on the other side. So sometimes when we send a message, we send an email, or we send a letter, in our world, that's the most important thing going on. But in their world, it's barely a fucking blip in the radar. So I'm a bigger believer in like identify the hyper-targeted shoe buyers that you would want to work with that are actively spending money now, and then like sequences, meaning follow up with those people and intend to do this. Dan Kennedy has a ton of awesome stuff on sequences. And like when he was talking about sequences, he has an awesome example in magnetic marketing. I'll share you guys going into it. But this guy was trying to promote a local restaurant, and message one says 50% of divorce or marriages end in divorce. The number one reason listed is because there's no more romance. That's why I put together this romantic package for $49.99. You can come have candlelit Italian dinner. And he said by the fourth or fifth message, if people hadn't responded, the headline of the fourth or fifth message says, "Can this marriage be saved?" Right? So I'm not saying you have to get that extreme, but you want to think like building off of messages, especially if you're dealing with the jaded market that is so used to being pitched. Like you got to work to stand out from the noise in them. So I would say think bigger than 10 and more frequently than 10. And that can be like, it also works if you do it across platforms better. So if they see you on LinkedIn, if they get a message from you and there's a letter in the mail, that has a different effect than if you just send them a letter in the mail. Evan says, how do I create my killer offer without screwing up my margins? P.S. Love these live streams. Appreciate you, dude. Tuning in. You're one of the good guys in here. I don't think a killer offer has to screw up your margins. What I think about with a killer offer, sometimes what helps people understand killer offer easier is to think about killer outcome. right? What is an outcome that I could actually achieve for a client? Like when my service is done and finished, that would be highly valuable. And this is why I've talked about this $100 bill phenomenon. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with it, I'm a big believer that not all clients are created equal. Not just our clients, but our clients' clients. So I used to see this in roofing all the time. An example of what I call the nickel and the $100 bill is roofers get calls all the time from somebody who says, hey, there's a leak. And then they come out there and it's like they got to fix 3 shingles and they're there and they go, okay, that'll be $80, and they leave and they make $80. And when you consider the time, the cost of the trucks, their insurance, going out there, quoting the job, all that for like $80, it's just not worth it to them, right? But the flip side of that is whenever they get like a commercial job, like they can make $250,000 or more on a big commercial job. Like you don't have to bring them very many commercial jobs to justify like a very, very big return for you, right? Like I remember actually when Dan broke into that market, like the first roofer just wrote him a $12,000 check, no questions asked. So when you're looking for margins, one of the easiest ways to create margins for yourself is go, how can I create margins for my clients? And almost always the way to do that is help them have their highest value people. And if you don't know the answer to this, you can ask. And like if you're talking to a dentist, you just say like, hey, curious, what kind of patients do you wish you had more of? What kind of clients do you wish you had more of? What kind of customers do you wish you had more of? Perfect example of this, accountant friend of mine who's in the group, Larry Weinstein, who's a genius. You know, we were having a chat and I said, what kind of clients do you wish you had less of? In other words, who are your nickel clients? And he said, well, tax returns, because 2 weeks before tax time, a gazillion people contact me, want their tax returns. I'm up till like 3 in the morning. I just sleep at my office during tax time. I have no time to even go home. It's stressful and I barely make any money. And I said, well, what kind of clients do you wish you had more of? And he said, when I work with bigger businesses, they have ongoing needs. So it's like, it's never just a one-time thing. And when we get to tax return, it's easy, right? So that's his $100 bill, is the big businesses who have the ongoing needs that are local and have like a certain size. So I was like, hey, if we're going to create marketing and we're going to go get clients, let's aim it at the people you want, right? So for your question, Evan, how do I create margins in my business? It's a twofold effect, but the simple answer is create margins for your client. Like if I'm bringing a guy big businesses that are going to pay him $60,000 a year all year round, it's not hard for me to justify $4,000 a month for that, right? Or whatever, right? So you want to think about the same thing as like bring your clients their best and bring them a killer outcome, and you'll be amazed at how much more valuable your shit gets to them. The same Facebook ad I found, like if I run it for personal injury lawyers, if I run Facebook ads to just like bring them leads, any kind of lead, it has one price. If I say I'm going to bring you leads for your most expensive stuff, the traumatic injuries and the big cases and the motorcycle cases and the trucking accident case and those kind of things that they really want, they're like, man, I'll pay whatever you need, whatever it costs to get them, I'll go get them. So just think about it, like really hone in what is a killer outcome for your market. We got back-to-back Richard. A prospect is asking for a rate card for my web development / optimization and SEO services. Is that a thing? Are we just talking about listing or different services with prices? What do agencies typically do? Asking for recommendations and suggestions. Also asks, what's the best way to sign off on a proposed email? Warmest regards, or a proposal email, warmest regards, or something else. All right, Richard, those are kind of like two distinctly different questions. Okay, but part of the reason I wanted to answer your first question is this is a thing, okay, where clients will ask you what I call price out of sequence. And what do I mean by out of sequence is typical conventional wisdom says only after you've had a long sales call and you've discussed, I can actually help you, and you figured out their individual needs and you know what they want, and they have an understanding that you can actually help them solve whatever it is they're trying to do. Then at the very end, you answer the price and say it is this much money. In the real world, though, people are going to ask you price out of sequence all the time, okay? I've only ever found one of two ways to handle that, and I like method number 2, but I'm going to tell you number 1 first. Number 1 is, I'm shooting you guys the finger, but I'm not trying to actually shoot you the finger here. So method number 1 is you say, until I know for sure that you have a problem I can help you with, there is no price. So you just intentionally put it off. And that does work to a certain extent. But what happens is you'll lose a lot of business on the way, in my experience, because there is a number of people who are just curious about how much it is and want to see if they can fit it in their budget and whether or not they can do it. The way I wrote about in the old book here, I forget which page it's on, but there's a thing inside this baby called the IVQ formula. And the IVQ formula is what I realized, that the reason why most agencies and most businesses in general hide behind pricing is because they don't know how to present price. And therefore, the way they present price makes it seem like a take. So they say, my service costs $2,000 a month. My service costs $5,000 a month. My service costs $500. My service costs $10,000 a month. Whatever it is. Without any context, that sounds like a take. And the best way I can explain this, imagine you were interested in a car and there was an ad and it said car for sale, $5,000. Well, that doesn't mean anything, right? Like, that's not a deal or like a ripoff. It's not either, right? Because it depends on what car you're getting for $5,000. If you find out like it's a 1972 used Hyundai, the doors are rusted and it barely runs, that's a fucking ripoff and you should run. Okay? And if what you're getting in return, like say for example, like, hey, I bought my wife a Ferrari, she cheated on me, so I'm selling this brand new Ferrari for $5,000, the first one to get here, it's yours. I don't care, I don't want to earn my life anymore, I'm giving this car away for next to nothing, just need to sell it for $5,000 so we can legally transfer title, come first have it. Well, that's a bargain and you should run over, like if you can get a $400,000 car for $5,000. So it's not the money that matters, it's what you get with it. And the way most people present their price is just to say the money without context. So we always want to say it's $5,000 for the Ferrari. It's $5,000 for what you're going to get for it. And so the reason I created the IVQ formula is, and it's even more powerful if you can say who that is for. So the way I typically present price is when people ask, I just tell them the investment is this much. For that, you will typically get this outcome. And the qualifier on that is you need to be in this situation. So I think somebody who does this amazingly well in our group is Corey Vandenberg, who's one of our group experts. And Corey V, for those of you guys who don't know, like they charge $15,000 to $20,000 per month for SEO in the personal injury space, and they work for a lot of bigger clients. And they got like I don't know, like 40 or 50 lawyers paying them like 15, 20 grand a month. And when he presents his offer, he doesn't say the cost is $15,000 a month, because that's a take. It's not $15,000 a month is not a lot or a little. It depends on the context. So how he presents it is it's $15,000 a month, and for that you will typically get about 30 signed cases, which means you're going to pay about $500 per signed case in your business, and it'll work really well for you if you guys have good reviews and you know how to answer the phone. So when people ask you for price out of sequence, is in my opinion, just give it to them, but make sure you give them the context of, don't just say the price. Make sure it is contextualized with what they're going to get and also with what they're going to need to succeed with that. If you do that, you can present price anytime out of sequence. You can put it on your website. You can put it in a video. You don't have to hide behind it. And so when people ask you out of sequence, you can just answer. So I'm a bigger believer that that's a better strategy. But having said that, if you're not ready to do that, then what I would say is just tell them, like I said, use example number one, where you just say like, hey, until I know for sure I can help you and we've had that conversation, answer is 0. As far as what's the best way to sign off your emails, I don't think it really matters that much. I struggled with this personally, by the way, where I didn't know what to put on my email. So a lot of you guys noticed this. Like I signed my emails, may the force be with you. That was actually came out of like, I didn't want to say warmest regards and to your success and all the slogans everybody else used. And I just kind of liked that line. So I went, may the force be with you. But I would say, man, like just be you. I've made this point before. But in a lifestyle kind of agency, you're probably going to max out at like 100 clients. So I say like just boldly advertise who you really are and it'll attract those right kind of 100 people for you. And I'd say like if you don't actually say warmest regards in real life, then talk like you do. So like sometimes when I'm actually responding to like emails and stuff that you guys will give me, like my sign off will be like, peace, brother. But that's what I would say in real life. So like the best answer I could give you is whatever you would say in real life, like talk like you would in real life and stop trying to, I used to do for like 7 years, like all the things in business I thought you had to do. And so I did all these like, dear kind sir, please find attached proposal, and have you had a chance to review the information package I sent you? I'm kindly looking forward to, and I did all that bullshit, and at some point I just stopped and got tired of it and just started doing me. And the ironic thing is, you'll close more deals just being you. You'll like, people are so bored of the overly uptight, formal, warmest regards. You get way more sales out of like, hey, peace, brother. Check out the doc you sent. If you don't, I'm gonna have to whack you over the head with a hammer. I'm not saying you should beat people over the head with a hammer. I'm just saying you should be real and like have a good time with it, and you'll be amazed. Like, you'll write better emails and people will respond better to it. Nicole says, is small and local service-based business niche enough, or should I niche down more? I have experience over a wide range of industries, so I'm a bit unsure how to niche down. It is not niche down enough, unless you want to work with only people in your local area. But having said that, the reason to pick a niche, most people greatly misunderstand what the fucking point of a niche is. The point of a niche is not to find the secret source of untapped money. Every niche has money in it, or there wouldn't be a niche in the first place. The point of a niche is so that you can design your service so that what you do for one client is what you do for client 2, is what you do for client 3, 4, 5, 6, and so it gets easier. When you think about like when McDonald's first scaled up, they only sold hamburgers. Like, I know you see McDonald's what it is now and they have like 50 menu items. But when they first started, there was one. Hamburgers. And they got really good at making hamburgers at scale. When Amazon first started, they sold books, and only books, right? Like, you could be confused looking at what Amazon is now, thinking that Amazon has always been this get everything store. But no, in the beginning, they were the online bookstore. So almost always when you want to scale up, you're looking to do one thing over and over really well. And that's the point of picking a niche. And so if you are generic, local service-based business, you're going to have a hard time scaling that. So I would suggest, unless you want to be local, in which case, though, you're always going to have to go to local meetings. You're always going to have to hustle at the Chamber of Commerce, and you're probably never going to be able to really outsource that business. There can be reasons to do that, so don't let me shit on it and say, like, there's more than one way to be successful at this game. But in my opinion, I think it's better to build an energy-efficient business where it ultimately runs without you, because it's better for the clients and it's better for you because, you know, like the trains run on time and you don't have to make them run on time. Zell. Cool name, my man. How did you transition from being employed freelancer to agency owner? 3 things, my dude. And I was just answering this question by email, so this is why I know what those 3 things are ready to go. Thing number 1, okay, is a tight niche and a tight deliverable for all the reasons mentioned in the last question, is so you can do something once and then deliver hamburgers over and over and over, just like McDonald's. Thing number 2 is you need quality people who you can delegate stuff to. And I'll tell you the biggest secret for that is test people with trial assignments rather than interview them. I've never had good luck with interviews, but I've had tons of, you can tell how somebody really is. Like, for example, I realized I used to interview people for SEO, and the main thing that I wanted them to do was to write articles and post them for links, okay? And so I realized, why not just test them on writing an article and posting it for a link, since that's what they're going to actually fucking do. And if you do that, what you'll find is you'll get better people. So trial assignments, I'm big on that. And then the third thing is SOPs. Probably the most boring part of the industry is you have to document everything you do step by step so that somebody else can follow your shoes. It's kind of painstaking, but when you're finished, it'll make your life so much easier. Those 3 things: tight niche, good people that you can delegate stuff to, SOPs, so there's clear instructions for everything in your agency. You do that, you'll be able to remove yourself and go from freelancer to like real agency owner. Zach says PI niche is ghost town. I feel you, brother. It's not really a ghost town, but I know why it feels like that in general. It is a tough niche to crack for a couple of reasons. Reason number 1 is, I mentioned earlier, it's one of the most pitched niches on earth. And so, you know, I've had lawyers tell me they don't just get pitched from us. They get pitched from insurance. They get pitched from real estate. They get pitched from investments. They get pitched like hundreds of times every day. And then on top of it, they're trained to be skeptical assholes because they're like literally, their job is to pick apart arguments and find holes in arguments. So they're doing this to you unconsciously. So it is more work than your average niche to break through because they're just more jaded. It's just harder to get their attention. It's just more work. And then also they're really fucking busy. So like even like I have lawyers who will in principle agree to do a deal with me and then may ghost me for 6 weeks and come back 6 weeks later and sign up. That's not uncommon in this industry. So like it's just, it takes upfront effort to really, like you have to work a lot harder to get their attention than you do in other industries. Like we have a couple of people that are in some like obscure niches, and they do an outreach message, and the first time they send it, somebody responds because they're not pitched all the time. So there's not like all this noise and competition. In PI, I've had lawyers tell me we have a dedicated voicemail just for pitches. So if somebody calls to pitch us, we say, leave it on the voicemail, and at the end of the week, we listen to them all. And if we want to call them back, we will. And if we don't, we don't. But they get hundreds and hundreds of messages that they had to develop a system for even just working through all the pitches they're getting to. So that's my way of saying, like, if you understand that, though, you'll do what's necessary to get their attention. That's why I'm actually a big, like, we do a lot of stuff with direct mail because I know it gets past all the gatekeepers. I know it goes straight to the lawyer, and almost nobody sends them direct mail these days. That's a little bit of a trade secret for us. But I feel you, my dude. Josh says, what time of day are you most productive? This is actually like one of the most important questions you can answer for yourself. And I actually learned this from one of my mentors' friend, my man Rob, who's in this group. And Rob built he's not an agency owner, but he built $100 million per year business. He's the most successful entrepreneur I know in real life that I can just call on the phone whenever and be like, what's up, my dude? And one of the things Rob said is, he started to optimize for his energy. So he noticed he had the most energy in the morning, so he did his most important work in the morning. He said, I like to work 2 to 4 hours a day. If I work less than that, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. More than that, and I start to resent my work, start to feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And so what he said is, and then late in the day, if I still have stuff to do, I like to do like more remedial, like lower value kind of tasks that, because I'm not at my best. And I started to realize that there was real wisdom in just noticing when you were at peak energy and aligning your most important work with that. So it's different for everybody. I noticed like 90% of the entrepreneurs I know are either super early morning people or super late night people. I'm by nature a night person, but I don't know, like 3 years of having kids, I'm probably better optimized for the mornings now. And so I like to do my best work in the morning these days. But just noticing when you're at highest energy will help you do your most important shit efficiently. So instead of like trying to plan your day around like things to do, just notice when you're at peak energy and then like do your best work then. Savinian, that is a different name I've seen. Looking for someone to do my outreach for me. Dental niche, commission based, closed per or pay based per client. Hate to break it to you, brother. I see this all the time is, listen, if you're not closing clients already, I know it sounds nice that somebody could come in and for a commission and there would be no risk to you, and therefore they could come in and close deals and solve that problem. I have never once seen that work. Not fucking once. And the reason is because if it's a good salesperson who actually knows how to close and knows how to fix your offer and knows how to present it, it's not very appealing to work for a company that doesn't have established sales and they have to figure out your offer and do all the heavy lifting. It's very, very different if they say, hey, we're doing $50,000 a month. We've got this approved system. This is how many calls you have to make on average to make a sale. We're happy to pay you this commission. And this is what we're paying per appointment, because you're walking in the door to something that works. So I know it would be nice to have somebody come solve all your sales problems, but you got to fix your offer and you got to get it converting at least one time, ideally 2, 3, 4 times before somebody will even, who's any good, will want to take that job. And if you don't do that, you're probably not going to have much success with doing that. Michael says, Okay, I see a lot of posts for people advertising. They're looking for setters and closers, and they're giving away commissions. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked out what impact a 20% commission has on your overall margin? When you factor the commission into the cost time to fulfill your service, do you even have enough margin left in this climate? If your business isn't producing a 10% net profit margin, you're in for some pretty tough sleep. It depends, my friend. I know I agree with your overall sentiment, Michael, but I'll say your margins usually depend a lot on the size of your agency. So when you're in stage one and you're just like a freelancer, you almost usually have like 90, 100% margins. You might hire the occasional freelancer, but usually like you're the only one you got to write a check for. So for the most part, like you keep most of the money. So like if you sign a $2,000 per month client, you're usually keeping $2,000 a month. Having said that, once you start hiring people, all those hires start getting paid. So when you reach stage two and you have VAs and things like that, the VAs always get paid first. The salespeople always get paid first before you. And so your margins will typically go from like 90 to 100% to like maybe 50. When you reach stage three and you're a manager, it's like more typical 20, 30%. So if somebody's giving away 20, 30% in the managerial stage, you're right. There ain't any meat left on the bone to actually run a business. But having said that, most of the people who post those things are in stage one where they have 100% margins. And most of the people who post that, as based on the last question, have offers that aren't working and they dream that an appointment setter can come in and solve that problem. In my experience, it just doesn't work that way. I wish I could tell you guys that like you can just hire a setter and they'll come in and magically fix all your shit, but it just doesn't work that way, my dudes and dudettes. So that's why I'm so big on like fix your offer, get your offer converting, and then you can hire almost anybody because if you have an offer that's working, like you can train people to do what you do because there's a working process for them to follow. Mark says, just looking for a little advice from anyone willing to respond. What do you think is more effective form of outreach and has a higher chance of landing you meetings? Cold email or social media DMs? Any other creative ideas would be appreciated. Mark, I'm going to do more trainings on this in the future because I get more questions about outreach and DMs than anything else in human history. And the truth is, I'm not a big believer in it the way most people do it. And I think it's like literally the least efficient way to generate business. And so what people are doing is metaphorically, to me, is like the digital equivalent of knocking on doors. Like I used to actually, my first ever job, I sold chocolate bars for the blind. I was like 13 years old. And it was all cash. It probably wasn't even legal to work in those days. But you knock on the door and you hold out some chocolate bars and you say, would you like to buy some chocolate bars to help the blind? And I would get like a 20% commission back in those days every time somebody bought it. So I was a kid. I made like, I don't know, anywhere from like 30 to $100 typically selling chocolate bars. You'll learn a lot, by the way, knocking on doors and getting them slammed in your face. But what I learned is every now and then, we would ask the supermarket if we could stand outside the supermarket, and depending on who the manager was that day, they would say, yeah, man, go for it. And when we stood outside the supermarket, for the most part, like, you killed it, and you didn't even have to work very hard because, like, people were walking in and out of the supermarket all day long, and you just stood there, and people would come over and buy them, and you didn't even have to knock on doors. So what I found is there is a real magic to this. I wrote about this in the book, but I call this a shoe store. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the concept, I say, and I made this point the other day, is like with books, is that very few people buy one book. You either like buy a lot of books in your life or you don't buy books at all. Well, marketing services or really anything else are like that. Like 20% of the dentists buy 80% of the marketing services. And so what I've done that I think is different is identify where all the buyer flow is already. When you think about what a supermarket actually is, it is people going in and out where there's established buyer flow all day long. And so I think a much smarter thing to do is if you're going to pitch, rather than pitch 1,000 fucking doors over 8 hours, to knock on one door, very strategically, dear Mr. Supermarket Manager, can I stand outside your store and offer my chocolate bars? And what will happen is, if you do that, you'll sell more chocolate bars in an hour at the supermarket because they have so much established flow already. Now, in every industry, there is so much flow already. There are people buying from your competitors, right? right? They're hiring Facebook ads and SEO and Google and all these things. They're going to coaching. They're going to masterminds. They're buying courses. They're going to events. They're going to professional association meetings. They're reading books about this. They're consuming magazines. They're joining communities. There's so much fucking flow already. And so I think a much more efficient way to do it is to identify, take a moment and realize, where's the buyer flow in my market already? It's at the supermarket. And instead of knocking on 1,000 doors, knock on one door, but very, 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 very fucking strategically. I think if you do that, you'll have so much better experience with your outreach. And what happens, and I've done this, it's the same thing in the agency space, is when you get in somebody else's established buyer flow, you go from like 0 to 100 clients in like 5 fucking minutes. I've actually had it, like, for example, like one of the things I've done in the legal space over the years is I've spoken at a lot of the conferences. I haven't since March of 2020 and like the world went mental and all the travel restrictions. I just haven't wanted to. But having said that, we used to like speak like pretty regularly at these things, and it wouldn't be uncommon to do a speech and then to sign 5 or 10 clients right then and there. No sales call, no anything. Hey, what does it cost to get started? And they just come to you at the room and you sign them up right then and there, and you sign 10 clients at once. But the secret to that isn't about like go speak on stages. It's like a supermarket. There's established buyer flow. So I'm going to do more on this, because the idea that what you need to do is outreach starts with, in my mind, a fatal, fundamental, flawed idea, which the idea is any dentist is equal, any personal injury lawyer is equal, any book buyer is equal. And the truth is, 20% of the people buy 80% of the books. So the more you can identify who the people are who are buying all the fucking books, then you can put your book in front of a known audience of buyers, and you can tap into that flow, and you can do it way faster and way more efficiently and make way more sales, way more easier, and not have to be like a sleazy knock on the door. Not that I felt like I was sleazy when I was knocking on doors, but it's hard fucking work. Like we used to, in the summer, walk for like 4 or 5, 6 hours in the hottest days of the year, knocking on door. Hi, sir, and you get the door slammed in your face, and you get ignored, and you get like all kinds of those things happen to you. As where when you say, dear Mr. Supermarket Manager, if you get rejected, it's just like one time, and usually it's typically like, hey, I don't know if my bosses would be cool with that. And so the cool thing about in real life, or like in our digital world, is we don't even always have to like pitch the supermarket owner in a way where it's like asking or begging them. We can do it in a way where we're actually adding value to them and say, hey, I noticed a lot of your buyers are looking for chocolate and they cannot get it at your store. I'd love to do just a free presentation for them and show them a free training on how they can get chocolate in their own business. If you do this, you can tap into all that flow. So I want you guys to think more about how can I tap into the supermarket's flow, and way less about like how can I knock on a gazillion doors. In my opinion, I'm going to do more and more videos about that, but fuck that. Fuck the way everyone else does outreach and always trying to. And the other thing is, I see all this like you got to come up with the perfect script and blah blah blah. When you pitch the supermarket, the beautiful thing is almost always there's nobody else pitching them. Like it's a wide open channel. So if you do that, you're gonna have a way better, way easier time. It's just gonna be. So I'm going to do more and more trainings about that this year, but I want you guys to work smarter, not harder. Like, I'm not trying to send you guys to knock on 1,000 fucking doors. I want you to knock on one door that simultaneously opens 1,000 for you, and be energy efficient and be smart about this and be able to scale your service like way fucking easier. Like there's nothing like going into a room, talking for an hour, and then you got an extra $20,000, $30,000 a month in recurring at the end of that fucking hour. That can be done over and over and over and over strategically, and less of the, like let's chase deals and harass people in their fucking inbox until we do it enough times that, and I'm not saying that doesn't work, but I think it's the least efficient way of doing it. So I know this is a rant, but it's a rant because I get more questions about it than anything else that I've ever had in business, period. That looks like, by the way, all the questions we got. If you guys got any more quick ones, we can post them real quick. Just an announcement for those of you guys who missed the beginning. I haven't filled in the details, but I think having something at my house is going to be a thing. So we're going to actually formally throw an event. It'll probably be March or April, but I'm still kind of playing with some of the details. For those of you guys who are interested, I want to make it super affordable. I generally don't do low ticket stuff, but I just want to hang out with you guys. It actually helps me come up with content and stuff like that anyway. So, and I know if you guys are willing to fly down to Mexico and come to Paradise here, you're pretty serious about doing this kind of stuff. So, I will post some details on that as I formalize more of it. Also, we got about 5 spots left in the mastermind. One thing that I wanted to add at the beginning is I've had people ask me questions about, like, I mentioned this, like, do you have a course? And they're looking for me to tell them step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is that. And I don't do that kind of stuff. And the reason I don't is because I don't believe it works. Not long term, right? Like if I give you a script that's working for us and then 100 people use that script, it'll be only a matter of time before everybody ruins it. So I like to give principles that are timeless so that you can come up with your own scripts and ideas at will. And then the other thing is, I'm a big believer in identify your biggest problem of today, your biggest constraint, the thing that's sucking all the energy in life and making the business not fun. Identify that. It's usually only 4 places. It's either you don't have any leads coming in, you ain't fucking closing the leads you're getting, you have issues on the fulfillment side, you have issues on the hiring side. It's usually not very many places. And if we can fix like whatever that immediate one is for you, then you take the restrictor off and your business scales with a whole bunch more ease. So we're going to be doing more stuff about that. If you guys are interested, there is you actually don't even have to ask it for me. If you just go to beyondagencyprofits.com/wolfpack, you can check out the video there and see for yourself whether or not it'd be a fit for you. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Much love for you guys. This is enough rambling from this old man. I need a shower right now, so I'm going to go take a shower. And much love for you guys. May the force be with you.